I'm Thomas Baldrick at ASCO 2015 Oncology TV. Happy to have with us Dr. Eric von Cutsem. He is here to talk about the TAS-102 trial versus placebo in patients at least 65 years old with metastatic colorectal cancer. Thank you, sir, for stopping by.
Thank you for talking.
What was the purpose of looking at this heavily pretreated and refractory population greater than 65 years of age?
Well, in the trial there were patients below 65 and above 65, and what we wanted to know is whether toxicity was similar in older patients, and we did initially a cutoff of 65 years old, but in the further subgroup analysis we took other cutoffs, also 70 and 75, although there were relatively low number of patients above 75. And it's, as a practicing oncologist, it's always important to know whether an older patient or a younger patient has the same benefit and the same toxicity. And what we found indeed is that looking at the benefit, progression-free survival and overall survival was similar in the patients below 65 and above 75. Also, if we use the other cutoffs, we found similar benefits. So that's already good to know that elderly patients have a similar benefit. A second aspect is the safety, because with some drugs you see a bit more toxicity in older patients. And the first main analysis was done below and above 65, and there we saw similar toxicity in patients younger or older than 65, but also again looking at below 70 and above 70 years old, we saw similar patterns. And then on top of that, looking at the 75 plus patients, this was a low cohort. Maybe there was a slight increase in hematologic toxicity, but this did not have any impact on infections, and there were no other toxicities in the older patients. So the bottom line message is that if patients are fit and fulfill the criteria with a good organ function, good general condition, and whether they are below 65 or above 65 or with different cutoffs, whether they are elderly patients, they have a similar benefit and similar safety aspects and toxicity is seen.
In this heavily pretreated population, you still found significant improvements in OS and PFS in patients 65 years and up who received TAS-102 with the mild increase in toxicity. How do you think the colorectal treating physicians will add this to the treatment regimens they're currently using?
I'm convinced that once a drug is approved and available, that practicing oncologists will use this drug in a chemorefractory setting, similar to where the trial is being done, fit patients. Toxicity is not a major issue. You see some grade 3 and 4 neutropenia, but you see very little neutropenic infections in this. So the impact, the negative impact on the quality of life in these heavily pretreated patients is minimal because of the minimal toxicity in this, with this drug. So that means that practicing oncologists will be using it. And also looking at the data here in this poster, we see that similar data are found in elderly and younger patients. So that means that the data can be applied if a patient is fit as well to an elderly as a younger patient. And that's important for the practicing oncologist to know.
Having an oral agent with significant improvement in OS and PFS, do you see this being adopted early in treatment of colorectal cancer?
For the moment, we don't have any data yet to adopt it early on in treatment in earlier lines. Often combination chemotherapeutic regimens with targeted agents are being used. There are now some phase 1 studies that have started with combining TAS-102 with targeted agents and potentially also with other cytotoxics. But until we have the results of these trials of combination, there is no place to use a drug in earlier lines because that was not studied in the RECOURSE trial. That will not be the label for the moment being. TAS-102, a single agent, will have an inferior activity, of course, to the combination regimens, including a doublet of cytotoxics plus a targeted agent. So the efficacy will be lower in early lines. So if we want to move it up front to earlier lines, we have to do combination studies in this. And until we have the combination studies, we cannot use it in earlier lines.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Congratulations on your efforts to this point. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for talking to me.